Fonts are very important, more than you think. When writing, you have to pick a certain font that will show what kind of person you are and how distinguished you are at writing. Most writers use Times New Roman, but whenever I write, I use Gill Sans MT at size 18, bold at size 24 for titles. However, some fonts are hated more than others, and there is one font that is considered to be the black sheep of fonts. And yes, this does relate to spookiness, because whenever anyone uses these fonts, pretty scary. Let me introduce you to Comic Sans. Ooh. Anyone who writes can't stand Comic Sans. They think it's too childish, and whenever Comic Sans is seen, it's usually replied with a variation of responses. Some are ugh, others are ah, none is even if they're like ew. A few that are like that. However, I think it gets a bit of a bad rap, for the most part. But before we look at this font, let's look at the history of said font. It was designed by Microsoft designer Vincent Conner in 1994. October 1994, 30 years ago. See? There it is. It was inspired by the font used in speech bubbles and comic books, but they made it less formal and more kid-like. It was used in a lot of Microsoft computers around that time, like Windows 95 for example. Vincent thought he had created a useful font, but he soon realized that this soon became a nightmare, as the font started to be misused, starting in 2010. To get through all the stories involving the misuse of Comic Sans will take forever, so let me show you my favorite. In October 2012, a Dutch World War II memorial called
Verzoening
that was revealed, on which the names of Jewish, Allied, and German military deaths alike were written alongside each other in Comic Sans. Oops. The names were eventually scrapped off after complaints from Jewish organizations, but the rewritten message was once again in Comic Sans. According to the city government, this was done because the letters fit the shape of the stone and were easily visible from a distance. It was, however, criticized for making the memorial appear ugly and cheap. Imagine being so stupid that they just do that. You're so cheap that you write a memorial in Comic Sans. And it doesn't stop there either. There's also a collection of photos on Google that show the misuse of Comic Sans. These are some of the funniest things I've seen in my entire life. It is just, oh my god. I don't know. There's just something about seeing this font being used to talk about the Holocaust that just cracks me the hell up. However, despite all of this, I don't think it's completely bad if it's used in the correct context. For early primary school, or especially preschool, this font can be pretty useful. It has a kind and friendly look to it that not a lot of other fonts have. So in that regard, I think it's pretty useful. But when it's used for serious events by people who have no idea how graphic design works, yeah, no wonder it's grown such a massive hatred over the years. The same thing is happening with Papyrus, where the font is slowly becoming more and more hated as time goes on. Although, unlike Comic Sans, the reason why Papyrus is hated isn't as obvious as Comic Sans. It's a lot easier to see the hatred that Comic Sans gets, which is why that this episode is about Sans, not Papyrus. Wait. To conclude, I think this font is useful in certain circumstances. If used correctly, it can be a pretty nice font that isn't too harmful. If used in the wrong places, it can justify why it's grown such an absolute hatred over the years. However, I just find the images of misuse of Comic Sans to be hilarious. Just search up misuse of Comic Sans in Google or any search engine to find some truly hysterical images that make you feel guilty for laughing at it. A perfect mix of dark comedy in the weirdest way possible. Before I go, I just have to say that in order to get into the Comic Sansian mood, I wrote this entire script in Comic Sans. Don't believe me? Then take a look at this picture I took. Yep, there it is. Comic Sans in all of its Comic Sansian glory. Writing Comic Sans was definitely terrible, so if you excuse me, I'm going to hurl myself off the nearest cliff. If you don't see me in the next few days, you'll know why. However, before I do, I just have one little thing for you. Whoever guesses the number of times I say Comic Sans in this Comic Sans video, I will give them a shout out in whatever time I see the comment, and then I'll just say it in the next video. Yeah. Bye. Goodbye, crew world. Ow! Why was that cliff so fucking small?